Colby Daniels joins us, TV in the Oklahoma City area, joins us on 365 Sports. Colby, thank you very much for your time. So obviously OU's been kind of in this blur or fog or whatever. Not sure exactly what moves forward, but how much was that a feel-good win for them to at least get that one notched in their belt?
Well, first of all, blur might be the nice way to put it, ultimately, in Brent Venables' first 3 years. I mean, they had 2 losing seasons in the last 3 years. Those are the only 2 losing seasons this century. So this is a massive year for Brent Venables, and I think it was a statement win on Saturday night. I don't look at Oklahoma and think they played their best game by any stretch of the imagination, but to physically dominate a Michigan team that is really good in the trenches on both sides of the football, to feel like you have a superstar in the making at the quarterback position that doesn't seem to get rattled, that you feel like is decisive with the football and just an absolute game changer in terms of his playmaking ability. And then the defense, I think, takes another step up this year. A lot of young guys were on that really good group a year ago that have really developed. I think Oklahoma is in position to maybe surprise some people. This is one of the most difficult schedules in all of college football. I said before the season, they could be drastically better as a football team, and the record might not show it. We'll see on the back half of the schedule, but I thought a statement win on both sides of the football on Saturday night against Michigan.
Colby, did you get to make it to the game on Saturday?
I was stuck in the studio doing pre- and post-game coverage, so I was not in attendance.
Yeah, I was just curious because it just seemed like a hell of an atmosphere, man. So I'm sure you've heard all about it, unfortunately, from others, but it just seemed pretty cool. So I kind of referred to John Mateer as an electric factory. I watched a bunch of him at Wazoo, and I'm an OU fan, actually, so I was kind of tempering my expectations, just not really knowing what to expect team-wise. But I felt like that was the full experience on Saturday night. Like even the bad of bad throw here and there, but just what's kind of been the reaction throughout the state of Oklahoma these first couple of weeks and just the refreshing air that he's brought to that offense there in Norman.
I think fans overall would have accepted about anything offensively versus what they had a year ago. I mean, it was not only one of the worst offenses in college football last year, but you can make the argument it was the worst offense in Oklahoma football history. And this is an offense over the last 25 years that has produced 4 Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks. A couple others have gone to New York City. So they're not used to seeing that level of offense here in Oklahoma. But you bring in Ben Arbuckle, who is the hot offensive coordinator name this offseason. And I think the fact that if you brought him in alone, it's going to be better, right? If you bring in John Mateer alone at the quarterback position, it's going to be better. The fact that you bring them in as a package and John Mateer doesn't have to learn a new offense. Those guys are already in sync. You can tell with his decision-making process that he's in an offense he feels comfortable with. So many times a year ago, you saw either Michael Hawkins or Jackson Arnold take snaps, and they didn't know what they were looking at on the other side of the ball. They didn't have trust in the offense, and there was a lot of hesitations. I know the offensive line wasn't very good, but the quarterbacks, I think, lack of confidence and decision-making a year ago also resulted, I think, in pressures and hurries and sacks, and limited what the offensive capabilities were. John Mateer is decisive. And look, he might make the wrong read occasionally. He might air one out and it ultimately gets picked off. But he's not doubting what he sees down the football field. He pulls the trigger when he's ready and he bounces back. I don't think that anything really phases him in terms of getting down on himself. Similar to Baker Mayfield, and I know everybody's made the comparison, he has a lot of swag, almost bordering on the line of arrogance. I kind of like that in a quarterback. I think it rubs off on the rest of the team, and he's going to be the ultimate, we got this no matter what odds they're facing.
There was one throw that he made inside the 5, his own 5, when Mateer is standing 2 or 3 yards in the end zone, throws the deep ball down the right sideline. That's perfect, great tap of the feet, and he took a shot. Some guys would have probably left that thing hanging or maybe would have panicked. That, to me, was the throw. And I saw, like, Dan Casey, Todd McShay, some guys that kind of break things down like that, specifically discuss that throw.
Yeah, I mean, that was big league. There were multiple, I think, NFL-type throws that he made on Saturday night. There were multiple throws that he made after shaking a tackler in the backfield and then regaining his composure, keeping his eyes down the field and delivering a strike. The one aspect, I think, of his game that is really valuable is the running game. He's a great passer, but he had 19 carries on Saturday night against that physical Michigan defensive front. And while I think Oklahoma is going to be good on the offensive line, it was certainly a better performance in week 2 than week 1. There were 4 new offensive starters on the line in week 2 versus what we saw in the opener. There's a lot of young guys, and there are going to be matchups, I think, where he's going to face pressure. I don't know that you want him carrying the ball 19 times every week to make up for the lack of production in the traditional run game with your running backs, but his legs are going to be an X factor for this Sooner team if they're ultimately going to achieve at the highest level.
Yeah, where's your level of concern on the running back situation? I mean, Jaden, not the big, high profile pickup, and obviously dealt with injuries and whatnot, but do you feel like this is something that kicks in, or is it going to kind of be, hey, Mateer's arms and his legs, and that's how they're going to win football games this year?
I think Mateer is going to be the way they win football games, but you're going to have a running game of some sort outside of just your quarterback. The Jaden Ott thing is a little bit weird. I mean, he came into the season. This was one of the top running backs in all of college football a year ago, struggled with injuries throughout the year, didn't have a productive year. He's here in this offense, and week 1, he was 3rd on the depth chart. And a lot of the conversation was they're saving him for Michigan. They didn't want to risk him, getting dinged or something like that and not be available for your big week 2 matchup. I don't even remember how many carries he had early in the Michigan game, but it wasn't many. And you really didn't see him again the rest of the night. I mean, it was the true freshman Torrey Blaylock and Javonte Barnes in the backfield. Again, I will say the offensive line, 4 new starters in week 2 versus the 5 they sent out there in week 1. So that group is going to get better. And I think under Bill Bedenbaugh, it's been a thing where, the first few weeks he does a lot of tinkering before he really settles on a group of 5 and they really start to take shape and become what everybody hopes they're going to become. But I think it is a concern that Jaden Ott hasn't really done a whole lot, and maybe he's still dealing with some injuries that we're not aware of. I do think Torrey Blaylock, the true freshman, son of former Kansas City Chief running back Derek Blaylock, runs the ball hard. And I think if given the opportunity and given the offensive line play, he could be a big X factor. But yeah, there's definitely concern. If you were going to pick out any one point of the offense or defense to be most concerned about going forward, it's definitely the traditional run game with the running backs.
Deion Burks is a seasoned veteran, Purdue for 3 years and now Oklahoma for his 2nd year. But otherwise, and I don't know the star rankings, but it does seem like they're doing this without any highly rated alpha wide receivers coming out of high school. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, they went that route for a couple of seasons, and a lot of those guys have either moved on or sustained injuries, or it just hasn't worked out for one reason or another. The top 6 receivers from last year's team, one of them is probably never going to play again. He's had several knee injuries, and I don't know if he's ever going to be the same. You got Nick Anderson, who went to LSU, Brennan Thompson's at Mississippi State, Jalil Farouk's at Maryland, Andrell Anthony's at Duke. I think there's somebody else I'm forgetting, but all those guys moved on, and they had to raid the transfer portal, and they brought in a bunch of small school guys. Isaiah Satania came in from Arkansas. Giovanni Gibson, who I heard a lot about in the fall, still hasn't played his first game, and there's an anticipation that he should be ready for Auburn in week 4. He was kind of the guy that was talked about as maybe being the number 1 pass option when the season started. So we haven't seen him yet, but if there's any X factor at that position outside of Deion Burks, who everybody expected was going to have a monster year this year, it would be Jaron Kanik, the converted linebacker to tight end. Through 2 weeks, he has been exceptional. He has made big-time plays with his hands. He's an incredible athlete. He had a big-time block on one of John Mateer's rushing touchdowns. I don't know that anybody, when they saw the week 1 depth chart with Jaron Kanik's name at tight end, thought that was actually a serious thing. I think there was a common thought process that he was kind of being rewarded for being around the program and working hard and kind of being a tone setter in terms of the locker room and how hard he works in practice. And he's a legit playmaker for this team, and the tight end position is something that they have drastically needed improvement from for the last several seasons.
Colby, has anything stood out to you defensively other than their just dominance, obviously, giving up 16 points in 2 weeks and just 13 to Michigan, who's not an offensive juggernaut by any means, but still impressive nonetheless. Outside of just that you expected them to be good, maybe what's popped off a thing or two about the defense you've seen through a couple of weeks?
I'll just say yes. Yes to the defense, right? I mean, there's not much to find if you're going to be critical. I know Michigan had the 75-yard touchdown to start the second half, and that kind of took the air out of the building for a minute after such a dominant first half performance. But I think on all 3 levels right now, the coaching staff is beyond thrilled with what they have. And I think a year ago they were really good, but the offense and their failures to even pick up first downs and put the defense back on the field so often ultimately just resulted in that defense getting worn down and maybe not having the teeth that they had early in the season, or that they would have had if they had a competent offense. This year, a lot of those guys are a year older. I think they're better. They have more depth, I think, in all three levels of the defense than they had a year ago. And now you're starting to get some young guys like Owen Heineke, who was a monster all night Saturday night at linebacker, making plays behind Kip Lewis and Kobe McKenzie, who are your starters. The freshman corner, Cortland Guillory, has been a really nice surprise. And he was one of the names that I think Brent Venables mentioned in every media availability he had leading up to the season. He started since day one, 2 times out. He's done nothing but excel. Seems to be physical in the run game, looks good in coverage. There are players on this team that would be starting in a lot of other places right now that are just trying to find ways to get on the football field. Another name I would just throw out, Kendall Daniels, the transfer from Oklahoma State.
Yep.
Played 3 years there. He's a physical freak. Like, he's one of those first off the bus type of guys. At Oklahoma State, he had flashes of brilliance where you think this guy should be playing at the next level eventually. And I think last year he kind of got a bad name. The OSU defense was probably the worst in the country. And I think people called him lazy and just had a lot of comments about the way that he played. And, you know, some of that I think is just maybe fatigue with how bad that defense was. But he is no question rejuvenated and excited to be a part of this OU team. The way that they can use him at linebacker and then in coverage, playing safety is, I think, a big-time weapon. But the bread and butter of this team is the defensive line, both inside and on the edge. They are 8, 9, 10 deep potentially, with guys that you feel like can play against anybody. And I think that's going to be the biggest difference with the Oklahoma defense overall.
Yeah, big win, nice win. It's one of those where they still have so much in front of them. They can't get ahead of themselves with the schedule they have. Obviously, Texas not far off, Auburn right around the corner.
Have you looked, Colby, at that second half of the schedule and just what that looks
brutal.
like right now?
Yeah,
with
it's
like
brutal.
8 consecutive ranked games. It's pretty insane.
Yeah, so they're at Temple this weekend, which should be a blowout win. Then they have Auburn at home, the return of Jackson Arnold to Norman.
Yeah.
That should, at least from a storyline standpoint, be a fun matchup. You get by that one, and it's Kent State, and then 7 straight games against ranked opponents at the moment. An absolute gauntlet. And that's why I said at the beginning of this, Oklahoma could be drastically better than they were a year ago. And maybe the record doesn't show it, right? I mean, maybe they're 1 win better on the record. But you also look at the SEC teams, and I think there are some winnable games that maybe weren't winnable last year, or games that we wouldn't have expected OU to have any chance in. So, you know, I said at the beginning of the season, I think 6-6 is in play. I think 10-2 is in play. There's nobody necessarily on the schedule that I just absolutely say write an L next to that matchup. So I guess that's the one difference from last year, is there were multiple games where you just automatically penciled in some losses, and one of those was Alabama that ended up going OU's way. But yeah, it's a tough schedule, and you worry about the cumulative effect, I think, of that back half of the season and maybe what playing that level of competition week after week after week might do to you.
Last thing, Colby, just a quick note behind you, this picture of Southern Hills, which we know has hosted major championships. Have you had a chance to play it?
I have not played it, nor would I want to. I think that I might give up the game of golf if I ever attempted to swing a golf club on that golf course. And look, it is a chore to walk 18 holes on that thing without playing it. So I was there a couple years ago when the PGA was here and got to follow Tiger for 18 holes. And just like Tiger, I was limping up the 18th fairway by the time you take every step on that golf course. But it's exceptional. If you guys ever get the chance to get out there, you definitely should take advantage.
Thank you, Colby. Appreciate your time today. Have a great week. We appreciate you.
You guys as well. Congrats on the big win, by the way. I'm a big Sawyer Robertson fan, so that was a fun matchup Saturday.
A lot of people are right now, and, of course, a huge win against SMU. Thank you, Colby Daniels, on Oklahoma's win against Michigan.